What's goody, Shellitronnn here. You can call me Shells, and I'm back at it again with a brand new video, and I guarantee by the end of this video, I am going to blow your mind when I describe just how easily and painless it is going to be for the Carolina Panthers to get an elite level left tackle on a long-term deal and maybe have us set up for much sooner success than we may have expected before. Now, this might be old news to some of y'all. Some of y'all have been checking Twitter, refreshing it a lot, looking at Ian Rapp's tweets. But this tweet right here from Ian came just earlier today. It says, sources, #Ravens offensive tackle Orlando Brown wants to be traded. After tweeting his desire to only play left tackle, he filled in there for Ronnie Stanley and shined this season. Brown will only play for a team that plays him at his preferred spot. There's a lot to unpack in this tweet. First off, Orlando Brown is a Pro Bowl level right tackle, Pro Bowl level left tackle as well. But Ronnie Stanley, the dude that he replaced for a little bit when he got injured, is an all-pro level left tackle. And the Ravens have already spent they handed the bag over to Ronnie Stanley. There's no way you're going to play Orlando Brown at left tackle when you already have Ronnie Stanley. So they're going to have to get rid of Orlando Brown because he is not going to play right tackle. Now, that could be because left tackles do get paid more, so they're just valued more in the NFL right now. So I understand why Orlando Brown might want to take this kind of action here. And Ian Rapp says Baltimore would need a major haul. That is very, very interesting. I don't know if they're actually going to get a major haul. Now, we know what we've seen quarterbacks go for, and we know we've seen some corners go for. We've seen a few other players, even some safeties, go for a major haul. But for a guy like Orlando Brown, who is in the last year of his deal, so you're going to trade for him, and you're going to have to pay him. As soon as you trade for him, you have to make sure of two things. One, that you do have the draft capital or whatever it takes to make a move to obtain Orlando Brown. But two, you also have to be able to pay him. So you're going to need to have some cap room as well. And looking at the draft right now, look at the teams that may be looking at maybe getting Orlando Brown. I don't think that it's going to be that hard for the Panthers to make a move for him. I think the Dolphins at 18, it's not going to be the number 3 pick overall. The Dolphins at number 18 could make a move, packaging their 18th pick with maybe a 4th for Orlando Brown. Maybe looking at the Bears at 20. They need an O-line kind of bad. They need a quarterback too. The Colts could look for it too at 21. And even the Steelers maybe, but the Jags. I would not be surprised if the Jags made a move with the 25th pick in the draft, plus maybe a 4th on the back end. Maybe you give them a 4th, they give you a 5th, or maybe it's a 1st and a 5th, they give you a 4th. But I think it's going to be one of these teams that are later on the draft, one of these better teams, one of these teams that's kind of maybe a little bit closer to contending, or at least one of these playoff teams that make a move. I wouldn't be too surprised if it was the Vikings trying to make a swipe at Orlando Brown. But I think the Panthers, with the 8th pick overall, have the best shot of most of these teams to get Orlando Brown. With the 8th pick overall, you're probably looking at giving up the 8th pick, and then they also give you a pick in return for Orlando Brown. Maybe you go the number 8 overall pick and a 5th, and they give you one of their 4ths, or they maybe even give you a 3rd in exchange for that. But having the 8th overall pick is extremely valuable, and it's probably going to be way more than most other teams who do need a left tackle are going to be able to even offer up on the table. But let's go back to Ian Rapp's tweet and look at it again. It's that last sentence that really gets you. It says, Baltimore would need a major haul. And around this time of year, when you hear the words major haul, your mind goes straight to draft picks. But I'm here to say that there is more to major haul than just draft picks. When you're in the market, or when you're just doing business at all in general, when you're doing business, you have to think about not only what do you want, what do you need? You have to think about what do they need. Now, we know as Panthers fans, we need to build up an O-line because right now at this moment, the only 2 players on the O-line who are going to be coming back is Dennis Daly and Matt Paradis. Now, I know for a fact y'all don't have the most faith in either one of those dudes, okay? So we have to figure something out. We need a left tackle. Think for a second. What do the Baltimore Ravens, above all else, need? Their defense is straight. They have their franchise quarterback. They have a pretty solid O-line. They got a lot of tight ends. They got tight ends, okay? These Ravens got tight ends. If nothing else, they have tight ends. The Ravens, above all else, need a number one wide receiver threat. Now, they do have Hollywood Brown, and Hollywood Brown ain't bad. We can go ahead and look at the Ravens stats from just this past year. We can scroll down here, and we have it sorted by receptions here. Hollywood Brown had 58 receptions for 769 yards. Number 2 on this list is actually tied. It is the tight end Mark Andrews, 58 receptions for 701 yards. Marquise Brown caught 58 passes out of 100 targets. That is a 58% reception rate. That's not really all that great. And it's made even worse when your number 2 receiver has the same number of receptions on 12 less targets and only 60 less yards. That's Mark Andrews at tight end. And it looks even worse when your third best receiving threat is Willie Snead. He had 33 receptions for 432 total yards. These Ravens need a number 1 receiver. I mean, hell, they need a number 2 receiver. The number 1 receiver is Hollywood Brown. Number 2 is Mark Andrews. And then it's Willie Snead. It falls off precipitously. And if you think about the Ravens, it's not just about what they need. It's about what is available. It's all about supply and demand. There aren't too many wide receivers demanding to go to the Baltimore Ravens because these receivers they're divas. They're prima donnas. They want to get their numbers. Most receivers understand if you go to the Ravens in free agency, you're probably going to be out there blocking on the edge while Lamar Jackson does his thing, dodging 4 or 5 dudes, juking left and right, running the ball half the plays, okay? You understand that Mark Andrews is the centerpiece of this passing game. You understand the running game is the running game, and the Ravens defense is also one of the bigger stars of this team. You are not going to be one of these breakout stars in the NFL as a receiver on the Baltimore Ravens. No one's begging to go to the Ravens, even though these dudes probably do love Lamar for who he is. No one's begging to go to the Ravens if they're a wide receiver, okay? So you're going to have to trade a player over to the Ravens, and the Ravens understand they're probably not going to be able to entice wide receivers to come to them on their own in free agency. So they're looking for someone to give them a wide receiver, and who could possibly have what the Ravens need? I think the Panthers have the perfect fit for the Ravens. Enter Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson's a guy we just got just this past year. He's 6'3", 190. This dude is real skinny. He's fast. He is a monster. He spent a long time on the Jets where they were actually just garbage for a long time. But Robbie Anderson just this past year had 136 targets, 95 receptions for 1,096 yards. Robbie Anderson is a legitimate wide receiver 1. Robbie Anderson has 1 more year on his deal, and then you have to pay him long term. Who does that remind you of? Quite possibly Orlando Brown. 2 teams trading 2 players at positions that the other side desperately needs. The Ravens desperately need a number 1 receiver. The Panthers desperately need an offensive tackle, particularly at left tackle, but I'm pretty sure that Taylor Moton's gone anyway, so right tackle, left tackle, please, we need O-linemen at literally every single position. 2 teams, 2 positions they desperately need, 2 proven commodities at those positions, 2 players who have 1 year left on their deal, and then they will have to get paid. Looks like a very, very even deal to me. And this deal makes sure that the Panthers are able to keep their number 1 pick in the draft. That 8th overall pick in the draft is extremely valuable. So you're able to get a left tackle. You could probably use that number 8 pick to either trade up for someone, maybe even trade down to get more picks. I mean, we see these draft experts saying Penei Sewell will fall. How's that going to work out? Slater might fall. You can find some O-line help. I know some of y'all like tight ends. I also know some of y'all really wanted to draft Thaddeus Moss in the 3rd or 4th round last year. And don't say it wasn't you. Don't say it wasn't you, because I know, I remember every single one of y'all wanted Thaddeus Moss. How'd he do again? Let's move on past that. And I didn't even mention it, but I know it's on all y'all's minds. You can get a quarterback with that 8th overall pick in the draft. And I know what y'all thinking right now. Wait a second. If we give up Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel's probably gone as well. Who's going to catch the balls for us? Don't you worry your little head about that. DJ Moore is a #1 receiver. Don't forget, Omar Bayless was a very good receiver as well. He got hurt in training camp. He's a big body kind of guy, more of a possession receiver. So he's not like Robbie or Curtis Samuel, but he is a red zone threat. He brings us a different dimension. He's tall as hell and big. So his game is fit a little bit more, I think, better for the Panthers. And you have to understand, if C-Mac is healthy, it doesn't matter who your #2 wide receiver is. Christian McCaffrey will always get at least the 2nd most targets in the passing game. So it doesn't even matter about who the #1 or #2 receiver is. Christian McCaffrey is always going to be top 2 in targets. So now you're looking for a role player. And isn't this year a very deep draft for wide receivers? You can find a very good wide receiver, maybe even in the 3rd round of this draft this year. And now you have DJ, Omar Bayless, a 3rd round rookie, Christian McCaffrey. Maybe you want to get a tight end with that first pick. I know some of y'all want a tight end, but you're looking at a system where you have a lot of options. And this is a 3rd round-ish rookie who is going to be on a rookie deal for 4 straight years. We don't need to have a whole all-star cast of wide receivers that we're paying year after year as we're fixing up our O-line, finding our quarterback of the future while he either sits a year and then goes on after this upcoming year. Why pay Robbie this year so Teddy Bridgewater can lead us to 6 wins maximum? This is the same reason why I said this team needed to trade Curtis Samuel before the deadline this past season. I said I like Curtis Samuel. He's very good. He's versatile. He's an extremely talented runner of the football, catcher of the football. But this team isn't going anywhere right now, and his contract is going to be over, and this team cannot afford to pay him as our 4th receiving option on the team with a healthy Christian McCaffrey. Curtis is gone, okay? And we were not able to we could have got a 3rd for Curtis. This team could have got a 3rd for Curtis. Now he's going to walk for literally nothing. And next year, we're probably going to have Teddy Bridgewater at the helm, and we're going to have still a pretty shaky O-line. The defense is going to be getting a little bit better, but I don't know if they're going to be, deep playoff run good along with the offensive side of the ball just yet. So next year is going to be an improvement year, but not quite a deep playoff run year. So why pay Robbie Anderson what we're paying him and then let him walk away for literally nothing when we can trade him to the Ravens to get a long-term Pro Bowl left tackle, and maybe we swap fourths. The Ravens are, I believe, they're like in the mid to high 20s in the draft right now. Let me just look at it real quick. The Ravens are 27th. So, it's going to be a very late 4th. We say, okay, we know there's other teams around the league who are going to be offering you 1st-round picks or some other kind of packages. Look, you understand you need Robbie Anderson. All right, Robbie for Orlando Brown straight up is a very fair deal. They're in very similar situations. They have very similar PFF grades. You can look at Orlando Brown right here. His PFF grade, for this season, was 76.4. Robbie Anderson's PFF grade was 75.1. These are 2 players who are near the top-ish of their position in the NFL. This is a very fair, straight-up trade, but one way you can go ahead and distinguish yourself from the rest of the pack outside of, the kind of teams that are going to be in the AFC. If you're the Ravens, you don't want to trade them to the Dolphins or maybe even the Colts or the Jags. They're all in the AFC. Trade them outside of the conference. You say, look, we're going to have an early 4th. You have a late fourth. Let's go ahead and swap fourths as well. The fourth round of the NFL draft is not just a house money throwaway round of the draft. There is true value in the fourth round. An early day 3 pick is not extremely, but it is still valuable. Also, an early fourth round pick can be packaged with your third round pick and you can move up in the draft to the early third. So there's value there as well for the Ravens. They get much stronger draft capital. You say, look, these two players swapped just 1 for 1 is a very even trade. But sometimes in business, you have to sweeten the deal. And this is the perfect deal sweetener right here. A 4th round swap between the Ravens and the Panthers could be enough to get us an elite left tackle and still keep our 8th overall pick in the draft. I 100% believe the Ravens jump at this deal. Robbie Anderson and a 4th round swap for a player who does not want to play for you anymore. And you get the one position you desperately need. To me, if I'm the Ravens front office, I jump at this. If the Ravens hit up Scotty Fitt up there in Charlotte, I jump at this. This is literally the perfect trade. The most perfect trade that any team can offer the Ravens outside of, wildly unfair trades, say like 2 firsts and a 3rd for Orlando Brown. That's stupid, okay? It's not going to happen. You give the Ravens exactly what they need. And then you still sweeten the deal just a little bit. Come on now. This is the perfect trade. I think both sides definitely benefit from this. We can get Orlando Brown Jr., a proven left tackle, and still keep our picks. Come on now, bro. It's easy as that, man. That's how I feel about it. Orlando Brown should be an easy pickup for the Panthers this offseason. That's how I feel about it, man. What are your thoughts on Orlando Brown? That trade? Do you think we should use our 1st round pick to get Orlando Brown? Do you think that trade does not work or that someone else would outbid us? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And you already know what to do with that like button.
Cheers to you, appreciate the chance. Been told y'all I been the man. Been told y'all I had the gift. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Real ones gonna recommend. Count this as another win.